Thank you for joining us. I want to welcome everyone to the STS 2025 webinar series. Today's webinar is titled CORA in Action. Please note this webinar is being recorded and will be available on the STS website and YouTube channel. At this time, I'm pleased to introduce the STS Senior Manager of E-Learning Education, Karen Kostrinsky. Karen, let me turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are going to be joined by Dr. Alex Nissen. He's going to be joining in just a little bit. Unfortunately, Dr. Brian Mitzman has been stuck in surgery, so he's going to be unable to join us today. But I want to thank both of them for working with me to deliver this presentation, and we're going to check out what CORA is. Feel free to ask questions as well throughout the webinar. And since it might be a small group, we can always get you to talk your questions as well. So we'll see what happens. So what is CORA? Hopefully you've seen the emails. Maybe you saw us at the annual meeting. CORA is STS's new member benefit. It's a new generative AI tool which analyzes, it gleans insights, it integrates content located across a range of STS educational platforms. We have connected the STS Cardiothoracic Surgery E-Book, the STS Learning Center with all of our annual meeting onlines and our digital archives from our standalone meetings. We have incorporated free access, free journals to the Annals of Thoracic Surgery, and we're currently working on integrating the most recent journal articles as well. We also have incorporated all of our clinical practice documents, our expert consensus documents, and we've also included on YouTube the 8 and 8s playlists and the recorded webinars. So we know that our education is across all these different platforms, and we wanted to create a tool that crosses all of those platforms and is able to provide you with summaries and insights and answer your questions about cardiothoracic surgery. So that's what CORA is. What is CORA? What isn't CORA? So of course we have a disclaimer. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can please feel free to read it, but it's a generative AI tool, very similar to ChatGPT you might be used to, Claude, amongst some others, Gemini, etc. CORA should not be relied on for clinical decision-making or medical advice. The idea is to use CORA to search for information, and like any generative AI tool, it's not perfect, and it's capable of providing inaccurate or even incorrect responses. We've done a lot of surgeon testing so that we are limiting the amount of incorrect or inaccurate questions, but CORA processes the questions as we go through it and as she is interacted with. And so it is your responsibility to double check with qualified experts or trusted reference materials. The reason that we created an STI member benefit AI tool is because our content is vetted. It is provided by STS surgeons and surgeon leadership. Evidence-based information, which is why we should trust CORA. Using STS-vetted educational content, responses are grounded in the latest research, clinical practice documents, enhancing accuracy and relevance when compared to other generative AI tools. We've gotten feedback where, cardiothoracic surgeons or residents have used other AI tools, and they aren't always resulting in the most correct information because they are public facing and they are accessing lots and lots of different information that's on the internet. As we all know, you could put anything on the internet. So our STS AI tool, CORA, Cardiothoracic Online Resource Assistant, allows us to keep that vetted educational content. It's also tailored to your expertise. CORA's knowledge is specific to cardiothoracic surgery, so hopefully adding value to your practices. When you interact with CORA as an AI tool, your first question is called a prompt. And that prompt needs to be as specific as possible, where you can provide context. The more specific your question, the more targeted and relevant CORA's response can be. You can ask one question at a time, and then the cool thing is that you can continue to ask follow-up questions. If you're not a member of STS, you're eligible to ask 3 questions a month to CORA. If you are a member, and we're going to show you how to make sure you're all logged in to your STS credentials to access CORA, you will be able to ask unlimited interactions, have unlimited interactions. So as you go through, you may have to clarify what you need. Are there any other resources? Is there any other advice, explanations? You want to be clear so she provides the most appropriate response for you. Now, just asking, let's say, can you tell me about mediastinoscopy? That's a good question, but maybe you have more practical application. Do you need help with developing a presentation, leading your resident rounds? Do you need to study for the TSDA in training exam or the boards? CORA can actually help you generate questions to help you study. CORA uses semantic search. CORA understands the broader context of your questions as she delivers concise, meaningful summaries and insights to your question. And the cool thing is that there's inline citations that are provided and a learn more section with links to all of the STS content. So you know exactly where CORA's response is coming from. Sometimes in AI tools, it'll just give you the insight or summary or response, but there's no link to see where that information came from. We wanted to make sure that you had the content and the related citations. So Dr. Nissen, who will be joining us in a little bit, he helped us to determine some great ways for trainees to use CORA, researching topics, summarizing debates, presentation outlines. You could use like Cliff Notes. You could dive deeper on topics that you learned at rounds. You could determine salient takeaway points when you are, if there's a topic that you were discussing with your team, or question writing or case studies. So the QR code on your screen is a direct link to CORA. It is available only to members in its full capacity. As a non-member, like I said, you'll be able to ask 3 questions a month. CORA's knowledge is specific to cardiothoracic surgery, obviously, and we're continuing to tweak and hone CORA's responses through your interactions. So when we go right into CORA, I'm going to show you some great ways to provide feedback to CORA. But before I do, are there any questions? Go ahead and raise your hand.
Or we can take questions in the chat or Q&A.
Yep.
And if you have questions later, please feel free to speak up. We'll enable talking, so since it's a small group. Karen, are you ready to switch over?
I'm ready. Okay, I'm going to dive right into CORA. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Are we good to go? Great.
Looks good.
Okay, so when you first get to sts.org, right, you see the homepage. Up in the right-hand corner, hopefully you've noticed this before, but if you haven't, is your profile, and it will say login. Your profile is where I'll go ahead and log out. Let me log out real quick. So you see the login and the join STS. So if you're not a member, you can click this join STS button. If you are a member, the first thing you want to do is log into your STS credentials. So you'll see a page like this, which is welcome to the STS portal. So I am in the profile. I'm in my profile. So I have been able to ask a couple of different questions for CORA. So the first one that I asked was develop a presentation on cardiac tumors. And some of these questions have actually been asked by some of the people who are already using CORA. We've had hundreds and hundreds of people check CORA out so far and look forward to even more usage. And so you can see here that CORA creates a presentation and outline. There's an introduction, there's a classification, diagnosis, clinical manifestations, management of cardiac tumors. All of these inline citations go directly, like I said, to the STS content. So if I clicked the cardiac tumors, either in the inline citations, it takes me directly to the ebook. And I can, as a subscriber or a resident, I'd be able to access that content directly. Then maybe I wanted to ask a different question. So I asked, can you give me a summary of the complications of valve disease? Again, an example question from one of our users. And so CORA goes through heart failure, arrhythmias, stroke, ineffective endocarditis, et cetera, and it takes me directly to the ebook. The ebook is obviously a plethora of really important information, and it will provide great resources and great content for CORA to glean those insights. But let's say I'm more interested in the guidelines. So I asked, what are the most recent guidelines on atrial fibrillation? And CORA pulled in the information from the 2023 Clinical Practice Guidelines for the Surgical Treatment of Atrial Fibrillation that was published by STS and gave me some key updates. If I click this link or if I click it under Learn More, it takes me after the annals make sure that I am human. It should take me directly to the guidelines on atrial fibrillation. It's coming. It's coming. We'll come back to that. Okay. Another example that I have for you is about showing videos. So sometimes you just want to see a video on a particular procedure or topic, and our Pearson's video library has a great access to those specific videos. We also have some additional resources related to mediastinoscopy. Some Annals articles came up. And then I asked it to outline a presentation for me again. So it's all about the interaction and the, here we go. Here's the guideline. Sorry it took so long. It really is a great way to have CORA generate some content that allows you to then take that information and build on it. So it's a great resource. It's a great stepping stone for like I said, doing presentations, etc. Okay. I'm going to stop here again and see if anybody has a question or if they want to go into CORA and I can put a specific question in there for you.
We do have a question in the Q&A.
Great.
Dr. Mohammed asked, can we ask Cora about career management and early career surgeon challenges? And it turns out we do have some resources, STS resources for that, just not specifically in Cora.
Oh, did you already do CORA? Is that what you're saying? So yes, so we've been working with our early career group to see what other kinds of content we can put in there. Right now, our focus was on education. So that's a great question. And it's something that we are working on internally with other STS staff groups. Because we are focusing on education, we do have some early career resources in there, but we haven't connected specifically to those particular questions. But those are great. That's a great suggestion, and I'll bring that back to the group.
Additionally, we've filmed some webinars as part of the Early Career Journey series, and those are located on the STS Learning Center. We have topics including contract negotiation, transitioning to your first job, student loan management, and how to get more involved with STS. So I'll be sure to link that to your question.
So tell me the question again. Let's see what Cora says.
Career management and early career surgeon challenges.
Okay. And remember, it's all about the conversational style. So what are some, say it again, I apologize.
Early career surgeon challenges? Is that specific enough?
Surgeon challenges.
This is a good stress test for generative AI. We've had a few of our testers take this route and see what comes up.
Yep. All right. So there we go, actually. And Melissa was exactly right. We have a great recorded webinar, Early Career Journey, Growing and Learning from Bad Outcomes. Let's say this wasn't exactly what you wanted. You could use the thumbs up and the thumbs down to provide feedback to Cora, and then we analyze the content and make adjustments. Let's say we wanted to add to this well, let's see, can you expand on second victim syndrome? Victim syndrome. And hi, Dr. Nissen. Welcome.
Hey, how are you? Thanks. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Thanks for joining.
Of course.
We just had a question from our audience about whether Cora can provide information for early career surgeons. So we're exploring that right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you for the person that added this. So here you're seeing Cora go even deeper. So at the first response, she may not get as deep as you were looking for, but you can then continue to have conversations with her about diving deeper into the specific questions or the specific parts that you were interested in. Dr. Nissen, do you want to add any guidance or any tips that you found?
Sure. I guess by way of introduction, my name is Alex Nissen. I'm a third-year cardiac track fellow at Emory University. I can't say that I know how to necessarily create generative AI, but I've been fortunate to be involved with CORA via Karen and the STS staff. In terms of tips or what I've found, I do think that CORA will fairly impressively learn, I guess is the right word, from your response. Correct me if I'm wrong, Karen, but I think it remembers up to the last 5 questions in terms of that concept of building or kind of having a conversation.
Yep,
And
exactly.
whether or not it pertains exactly to the last question that was asked about things like second victim syndrome and other things like that. But there were examples that Dr. Mitzman gave at STS where, for instance, he asked for a table to be made. And CORA included a number of trials as it related to immunotherapy for lung cancer. And he wanted a specific trial added. So he said, I think you have forgotten, Keynote 816, for instance, and it took the same table and added Keynote 816 as a column, for instance. But I guess from a trainee perspective, things that I have seen residents use it for, certainly for helping jumpstart, the outline or skeleton of a talk they need to give, starting with really like a jumping off point for reading for prepping for a case in terms of procedural steps or nuances, or building other tables to study from, exactly like this one that Karen just showed. And you could say, I think you forgot Keynote 816, for instance. I believe I'm giving you the correct number, but and then those are ways that I've seen people use it as really kind of a jumping off point. And then I think the in-text citations and the learn more functions are highly useful. And then, although I think most of us don't typically, maybe thumbs up, thumbs down a lot of things, or like a lot of things on Facebook anymore, the thumbs up, thumbs down, and the feedback are very useful ways for this resource to learn and to get better from your use. So I would encourage people, if you're excited about it or interested in it, use it, respond to it, and it will get better as you continue to use it. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
This
Thank
is a
you.
great example of, so our ebook is constantly being updated. We have authors actively working on it, editors checking things over. But if you provide feedback on a CORA prompt that cites an ebook chapter that may say something inaccurate or a slightly out of date, this is a great way to make sure our resources are up to date.
Thank you, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions that you'd like us to explore with CORA?
Karen, maybe you can talk about how it pulls in video content. I know there have been a few YouTube links included in the demo right
Yeah.
now, but
Right. So you could say, what videos do you have on, let's say, lung transplant? And let's see what happens. What we've done is we've added a decorator. It's called a tag, basically, to our content that allows videos to be pulled in. So here, this is a great example where we had a great lung symposium before STS 2024. So it's directing you to those videos, and when you click on it, it's going to actually take you directly into the Learning Center, and it will either allow you to enroll or purchase the digital archive that she mentioned. She also was talking about the Pearson's video library, where you can learn more about all different kinds of videos that are whoops, I'm not going to do that. And the videos that they will appear here, and then you would log into the my password, of course, Murphy's Law my password that I just changed isn't working, and I just checked it. But this is a great tool. And then you could even, ask even more questions like, what can you tell me about donor selection? So it really is about having a conversation with CORA, continuing to dive into the specific content that you want. Remember those prompt tips, being able to see from a different angle, maybe, what your topic is all about. It'll pull in information from, so this pulls in from the ebook, right? So I could say, what other resources do you have available? And this is what Dr. Nissen was saying. Cora remembers that we were just talking about lung transplant. And it gave a little bit more information with the same resources. But do you have
And
any
then,
others? Yeah.
I guess remind me, Karen, I think obviously we have the ebook and lots of the other STS owned content.
In the annals, the free issues of
that
the
was exactly my
annals.
question. Yeah, how
Yes.
far back we go for the annals. I think that is it for 5 years or so?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. And
Okay.
we're working currently with the CORA team to incorporate the most recent issues of the annals as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the final thing I forgot to mention that has been interesting. I'm not sure the makeup of the attendees, but whether it's residents or attendings, but if you've demonstrated any of Cora's ability to like build a quiz, for instance,
Questions, right?
it can come up with, a 5 or 10 question quiz. I think when I tried it initially, it gave kind of open-ended questions that one could think about and answer that, you could test yourself, you could pose to a group on rounds if you're doing teaching rounds, but it can also generate, believe it or not, multiple choice questions with or without the answers displayed. You would really be surprised, I think, at sort of how it can be used. And it's different than Google. You're not Googling a long prompt necessarily. You're kind of asking a specific question and having a conversation, which I think takes a little bit of, it took at least some getting used to for me, I should say. So I would encourage folks to kind of play around with it.
That's a great suggestion. So here I asked her to create 5 questions on donor selection. And she actually was looking at one of the topics in the curriculum. So if I clicked on that, it would take me directly to the thoracic surgical curriculum. So if there are other residents or fellows or trainees on the call, you're probably familiar with that. Can you create open answer questions as well? Let's see what she comes up with. And then we could do board style. So here she just asked, she took the information and asked some questions where you could then answer in an essay-like form. Can you create board style questions? Let's see if those are different than the ones up here. We've had questions like, what scoring systems can be used to risk stratify patients undergoing valve surgery? I could put that one in as well. Oh, so here are the board style questions. So the rigor is probably more intense. They're probably phrased a little bit different. It looks like there's more detail in the question than the original ones up here, which is definitely helpful for when you're studying for your boards. And let me see what this says, which I know is a different subspecialty. Are there any other questions in the audience? Anything else you'd like to ask? Can I get a show of raised hands for people who have actually used CORA already? You can you can raise your hand right in the Zoom as well. Oh, good. So
And then
nobody
there's,
has. Great.
yeah, I guess just me maybe. There's one other question here in the Q&A.
Oh, yeah.
Can CORA evaluate technical skills of a young trainee and assess team performance dynamics? That's an interesting question. I suppose, Karen, I'll let you answer, but my initial answer is I don't know. In terms of a technical assessment, I'm not sure if you're referring to like assessing a video or something like that, or
Yeah, maybe
assessing
can you give us a little bit more?
one's technical performance. If that's what you're getting at, that might be challenging, but I think that the application of AI to video analysis is very exciting as it pertains to, assessment of anyone's technical ability and readiness to graduate or be an independent surgeon, and could be something to apply AI to in the future, whether or not it's named CORA. And then team performance dynamic, I suppose, maybe a little more detail on that, but I think for the most part, CORA is drawing from a larger body of knowledge to answer these questions. I'm not sure that it would be able to observe a team interaction or something like that, unless maybe you have a specific scenario to type in and allow it to process.
So this is
But let's see.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
So how would a resident's technical ability be assessed? So this is quoting from an article on the Joint Council on Thoracic Surgery Education Coronary Artery Assessment Tool. And it outlines objective structured assessment of technical skills, simulation-based training, inter-rater reliability and internal consistency, formative and summative feedback, resident survey. So it does actually give you some great Annals citations there to check out. We are also, like, I noticed that someone asked Cora, how many cardiac surgeons perform more than 200 open heart surgeries a year? And so when I saw that and she didn't have an answer for it, I talked internally, and we're going to try to add more of those kind of statistics and that kind of knowledge about cardiothoracic surgery and surgeons as we grow and as we develop and expand CORA. So know that she is going to continue to learn and expand her knowledge base. But we're excited for you to dive into what she can already do. So I hope that answered a little bit of your question. Yeah.
To answer the spirit of the question, CORA is looking across STS resources to determine what we've published on certain topics. So if STS has weighed in on best ways to evaluate technical skills of a trainee, or there have been consensus documents or guidelines about team performance, how to measure that, that's kind of where CORA is looking and providing her answers. So on topics like that, you're really asking, has the STS published on these topics, and what has been said in the greater discussion? And Karen, if you don't mind me asking, Does that mean we're looking to integrate the STS database in some capacity in the future?
Well, the STS database is a different ball of wax,
Data.
as you know. Yes. And the database is actually looking into creating a possible AI tool as well. So TBD, right? It's something that we know is important, and we have so many different platforms, whether it be our early career center or our career center, our database, our newsroom, our STS.org. So we have so much information and content in so many different places, and we're trying to figure out how to create a digital space that is user-friendly, that really allows us to access the content in a much more effective way. So the STS is constantly looking at evaluating those things. So I asked, how do you measure team performance? And it actually, there's a ebook chapter that kind of goes into all of the things that you want to measure. And again, you have access to the ebook on that. Those are great questions. Anybody else have another one?
I know earlier you mentioned that CORA can look at debates in the field of cardiothoracic surgery. Do you have an example question of what that looks like?
Yeah, do you know what is the debate between Haver and Saver? That's a good one.
A good training question.
Yep. So here she's looking at everything that is related to Saver and Taver. So that's why she's taking a little while to answer, because she wants to make sure she provides as much information as possible. But again, she's going to give you some initial information, and then she wants you to ask more questions to dive into the specifics of it. So here she talks about the difference between or the controversies, the debate between Taver and Saver, and there's an ebook question. This brings Saver back, I believe, is a recorded webinar, if I'm not mistaken, or it's from the annual meeting. It's from the 2024 annual meeting. So it brings you right to that resource. Here's a late breaker, Saver and Taver, from 2024. I think it's also 2024 annual meeting. And right now, the CORA team is actually incorporating all of the STS 2025 videos from our most recent annual meeting. So those are going to be in there in the next couple of weeks as well. What else does she have? And she has she responded with an ebook as well. Dr. Nissen, do you want to add anything to the?
I mean, I think those are good answers. I think the only thing I just see an update to that last question. Lamar asked, they mean evaluation of an attached video. I don't think that CORA can evaluate video content. I think it can supply it or reference it or direct you to it.
Right.
But I don't think that CORA currently or yet evaluates video content.
Oh, you mean like if you can you put a video in there for her to evaluate? Is that what you're asking?
I mean, I guess I'm not sure. It could be two things, but one, to answer that, as far as I'm aware, you cannot attach a video or submit a video for evaluation. But in terms of the linked videos, it does not offer an evaluation per se of them. It will direct you to them, as far as I'm aware. unless
No,
Karen knows
we
more.
so we have so Cora can actually read the transcript of the video. So she is able to pull, and that's what she's doing as well when she responds with a video connection. She's able to read that, and it maybe if you have a specific question, we can test it out, but she knows what's in the video. So she's using that to respond in her to your prompt, and then directing you to see the video. But she can't bring in the video so you could see it in Cora. That's not what she's able to do.
And then I
At
think
least right now, things are changing.
I think what Dr. Mohammed meant is, can someone submit video content for Cora to read? And in that case,
Right.
no, it's just text prompts for now.
Correct. Yep. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. We're really excited for you to use Cora. Be sure to use the thumbs up and the thumbs down. If you're excited about how she responded, please use the thumbs up and tell us why. If there's something that you think Cora is not getting right, please use the thumbs down and be specific about what you think is incorrect. That's the only way that Cora is going to be able to learn, and we'll be able to evaluate that. And remember, Cora is a member benefit, and you'll be able to ask as many questions, unlimited interactions with Cora once you're logged into the system. Remember, in that upper right-hand corner, remember your password or write it down. And if you're interested in becoming a member, if you're not one already, please use the QR code on the screen. And there are so many discounts and networking and mentorships and publications and educational opportunities and leadership development that are waiting for you. And we'd love for you to become a member of the STS. Melissa?
Also have our coronary conference coming up in Chicago this year, taking place June 12th through the 14th. Learn more on sts.org, save the date to attend, and we are accepting abstract submissions now. So please participate if you are able and interested.
Great. Well, I want to thank Dr. Nissen for coming right after surgery.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Helping us to explore Cora's abilities. And thank you to everybody who asked questions and just for being here. We really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out to us. At any time. You could send an email to education@sts.org, and we look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you so much. Hope you all have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Thank you. Bye-bye.